Here debating on why Diablo 4 is nowhere near the level of Path of Exile 2. And today I figured it out. If you guys haven't been watching the news over the last couple of weeks or the last week, basically there's a lot of people at Blizzard who are getting in trouble for, anti-Trump speech. There's a lot of people in Blizzard, especially the higher-ups, who have come out and defended their DEI and all the shit that they do. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because Bill Gates, Microsoft owns Activision Blizzard, so that makes sense that they wouldn't be the ones to back down, right? Bill Gates ain't going to back down from DEI. He pretty much came up with it. So that being said, it makes sense that his company and all his cronies who work there stay in it. But let's talk about the facts. The fact of the matter about Diablo 4 is if you ask 100 people who play ARPGs, don't just ask them if D4 is bad, because 100 out of 100 of them will say yes, right? But if you ask them which game is better, Path of Exile 2, Diablo 4, if you say which game developer is better, GGG or Blizzard, I would bet you 80 to 90% of them are going to say GGG, if not higher. And the reason is, I think, because of that. I think GGG seems like a company that, obviously, I don't think they're intolerant of anybody. I don't think they have anything like that. I'm assuming they're probably a little bit more on the left-leaning side than they are the right-leaning side. Like, I would just imagine that that's probably where they probably sit on the political spectrum, right? But I do think one thing that they do that better than Diablo 4 and Blizzard in particularly is I think they care about putting out great content and having a great game. And because of that, they hire great developers. And I think the biggest problem with Blizzard is Blizzard doesn't care. Blizzard has to fill a quota of what color, ethnicity, sexuality, how many PPs you have. If you're into, I'm a that plant or whatever they're calling themselves nowadays, it doesn't really matter. That's what they're doing. So instead of focusing on making a great game, they're focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think that is why their games suck. I think that is why they have no creativity. I think that is why they've had the same season now, and they're getting their ass beat by GGG in every possible scenario, in how fast they implement content, in new content, in systems inside of their content, in getting feedback implemented from their community base. All of it comes down to, are the people that you hired, do they care about the game or do they care about being politically motivated or being on a certain side of thing? Or, we would get better people, but we have to fill this quota of X, Y, and Z inside of our company. And I think you're seeing in real time the difference in these games of GGG legitimately goes out and says, we want the best people to make our game the best that it possibly can be, and that's what we're focused on. And Blizzard is not. And I think that what we've seen over the last 18 months now since Diablo 4 came out, and with the early release content of PoE 2, I think we've seen that in action. Is we've seen, hey, PoE 2 is all hands on deck, even their PoE 1 team, right? All hands on deck. We got to make PoE 2 the greatest game ever. It's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this. And while I don't think anybody at Blizzard wants to make Diablo 4 a bad game, I don't think the caliber of talent is anywhere remotely close to what GGG has. And I think that is the reason. I think it's because of who they're focused on and what their core values are as a company. And I think you're seeing in real time why those things matter, right? It's great if you hire somebody and they're the best person to do the job inside of the game. And if they happen to be filling a quota of a minority, awesome. But if they're not and you're hiring them anyway, are you hurting your own game? Right? Are you hurting your own game? And I think there is 100% chance that the answer is yes to that. I think we are seeing it play out in real time. And I think that is the biggest problem. And until Diablo and Blizzard and Activision, right? So the next question would be could they fix it? Oh, 100%. Blizzard has enough money to fix any problem that they have. The problem is, how much money and time does it take to replace a culture? A long time. The second problem with that is, do they want to? And I think that's the more important question to ask. And I think it's a very resounding answer. And I think the answer is no. And if you look at the last campfire chat that they had, where Blizzard had all their guys out talking about season 7, if you notice, it was none of the old heads that we're used to seeing. Adam Jackson quit the company. Now, again, we don't know the details of why he quit, but I can bet he was probably really disappointed with the game, and he probably felt like he had his hands tied in a lot of the choices that they were making, and just the ability in his staff to do the work that he needed them to do. If I was a game director and I loved the game I was making, and I was having to deal with it not being where it was supposed to be because the talent of my team was subpar, it would be extremely frustrating. And I think it was probably a mutual decision that they were like, hey, it's not working out the way that we wanted to. He is probably like, yeah, no shit. And they were like, all right, we're just going to part ways. I don't know that. It's 100% speculation. But I have a feeling that it had something to do with it. Where he was sitting here going, I need better developers. And they were like, no, you need a black developer, you need a lesbian developer, you need this developer who does pup porn, you need and that's what they said, right? You need 3 it's, a she, and a they. And I think what happened is now we're seeing the long-term effects of that inside of their studios. Because if you look at Blizzard as a whole, since Microsoft Activision took over, it's gone nowhere but down. It's gone nowhere but down. While GGG has made a meteoric rise, while there's other gaming companies that have come out of the woodwork and are creating absolutely amazing games. And I think the only thing that we can contribute it to at this point is the culture of Activision Blizzard. And I think that that's an impossible thing to fix if the person who owns the company doesn't want to fix it. And obviously, they don't. So guys, the reason that Diablo 4 is not as good as PoE is DEI.